if you don't logically break down some of it with just awareness, it is too heavy. It was a program, and as I was talking to her, I was like, you realize that you are the witness of your thoughts, you are not your thoughts. When you hear those negative thoughts, you could follow it up with an opposite. So you've now just wrote a new program that says, negative thought, I'm not smart enough. Positive thought that says, I am smart enough. I am intelligent.
The biggest thing is just realizing what's happening. You know, having that awareness that when you say something like that, that you do have a physical reaction. Now, wait a minute. I try to like relate it for myself personally. I would be like, all right, so what would I want my kid to say about himself? Because it's always easy for everybody to show unconditional love for their kid, you know, but it's really hard for us to do that with ourselves. So when I'm trying to figure out if I'm right or wrong about something, if I just remove me and put my kid in my place, it's very easy for me to say, oh yeah, I am beautiful, I am smart, I am intelligent, because that's what you want your kid to say, right? Your little girl, you know, she comes to you and she's 12 years old and she says she's stupid. What would you tell her to say? You know? Yeah, you could be like, no, that's terrible. You are intelligent, you are smart, you are all these beautiful things. And you want her to do that, but then why can't we say the same things about ourselves? And it kind of breaks, I think you have to logically break down some of it before you ever really try. Because if you don't logically break down some of it with just awareness, it is too heavy because it's a program, right? How do you rewrite a program? You can't go into your computer and start talking to it and tell it to automatically rewrite the program that it's in there. It's not going to work. But once you understand what the program is telling you, what that you're actually operating on a program. Now all of a sudden there's an awareness of what's happening, and then you realize, okay, well that's not real. That's just a program. I actually, you know, I'm not that dumb. I'm smart over here, and you know what I mean. Like you can start rationalizing with it, and I feel like that breaks some of the walls down a little bit. But I had a girl take my program. Yeah. It just once you start to understand that perception of what's happening. But I had a girl that she had some really bad self-talk, and she's probably 27, 28 years old. And when she was really young, she had, you know, a caregiver basically make her feel like she was going to be judged the rest of her life based off of her looks. And so her job, the status of her getting married, all of that was going to depend on her looks. And I'm sitting here talking to her, and she was basically revealing to me that she just had the negative self-talk that it had cuss words about herself. Like, you are just an ugly bitch. You were just terrible things that was coming out of her mind. And it was a program. And as I was talking to her, I was like, you realize that you are the witness of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. And for her, that was just like a mind shattering moment of like, what? I'm not my thoughts. It's, no, you're the one witnessing them. And you can, when you hear those negative thoughts, you could follow it up with an opposite. And that's a good way to get started with what you're asking the question, like, how do you deal with this? Is, okay, when you do hear a negative thought, don't necessarily fight that, but just add the opposite to it immediately after it. So respond consciously when you hear it, when you recognize it, and then you respond. After about a week of doing this consciously all day, every day, your mind will just automatically start doing that on its own. So you've now just wrote a new program that says, negative thought, I'm not smart enough. Positive thought that says, I am smart enough. I am intelligent. And so those two things start to counterbalance each other. And then over time, that program will start to manually go. Like, you could also go to the root of some of these things and rewrite programs and speed the process up. But if you're going to just try to meet it program versus program, you got to understand the program first, which is bringing awareness to your thoughts.